They say practice makes perfect, but what about when it's too hot outside, or you're just flat out too lazy to go to the driving range? We've all been there. Well, luckily for us, former Masters champion charl Schwartzel found himself in that exact situation this week at the Nedbank Golf Challenge, and he's got a solution for you. Just hit balls out the window of your very nice hotel room window. Bonus points if your room overlooks the range, as Schwartzel's did at Gary Player Country Club in Sun City, South Africa. Editor's note: don't actually do this. It's a terribly dangerous idea, especially for you hacks who haven't won the Masters. Article tags charl Schwartzel Grill Room. The PGA Tour is south of the border this week for the Youre Classic at Mayakoba. Here's how things look after the opening round, where Patton Kizzire has opened up a two-shot lead in search of his first career win. Leaderboard: Patton Kizzire 9, Vaughn Taylor 7, Ricky Fowler 6, Brandon Harkins 6, Retief Goosen 5, Fabian Gomez 5. What it means: Kizzire was out among the early wave and quickly moved to the top of the standings with a round that included 10 birdies and briefly flirted with 59. A former standout at Auburn, he didn't crack the top 25 for the first 6 months this year, but he has top 10 finishes each of the last 2 weeks. Fowler headlines the Chase Pack, while the group at 5 under includes a mix of veterans and recent Web.com Tour grads. Round of the day: Kizzire parred each of his first 2 holes before the birdies started to drop, as he made 8 over his next 11 holes, including 6 in a row from nose, 813. He would have broken 60 with a hole-out eagle on number 18, but even after a closing bogey, his opening 62 tied the tournament record for lowest opening score, also held by Fred Funk, who went on to win this event in 2007. Best of the rest: Taylor has been relatively quiet since his surprise victory at the Pebble Beach Pro-Am nearly 2 years ago, but he's in the mix after opening with a 7 under 64. The veteran eagled the par 5 13th and failed to drop a shot, circling 5 birdies including 3 over his final 4 holes to grab sole possession of second place. Biggest disappointment: Patrick Reed is one of the biggest names in the field this week, but he finds himself on the wrong side of the projected cut line after opening with a 1 over 72. Reed made only 1 birdie all day, that coming on the 12th hole of his round, and he trails by 10 shots after failing to capitalize on conditions where more than half the field broke par. Main storyline heading into Friday: keep an eye on Fowler, who showed little if any rust while making his first competitive start since the President's Cup. Fowler hasn't seen El Camleon before this week, but he put together a bogey-free 65 in the opening round and will likely remain in the mix for the title this weekend. Shot of the day: Keith Mitchell began the tournament in style, holing a 6-iron from 200 yards for an ace on number 10 with his very first shot of the day. The hole unknown helped the rookie to an opening ground 66 as he looks to make his first cut as a tour member. Article tags Patton Kizzire. According to a report from the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, officials with the annual PGA Tour stop at Colonial Country Club have until December 1 to resolve their sponsorship issues, after Dean DeLuca informed organizers that they may not be able to meet their financial obligations to sponsor the tournament in 2018. And per that report, the tour is not doing much to help the event solve its sponsorship issues. Although officials continue to search for a replacement sponsor, the outlook for an event that stretches back to 1946 doesn't look good. James Edmondson, a member at Colonial and PGA Tour caddy, told GolfChannel.com that the club's board voted on Wednesday to move the annual member guest tournament from mid-October to May, the same month as the tour stop. It's the most recent sign that tour golf at Colonial may be nearing an end, a surprising scenario considering the event's history and the affinity many players have for the golf course. There has been speculation that a dramatic overhaul to the tour schedule beginning in 2019, which includes the PGA Championship moving from August to May and an earlier finish to the season, could make the Colonial stop expendable. Article tags Colonial Country Club, Dean DeLuca Invitational. It's become trendy the last few months to leverage the ongoing debate over how far modern professionals hit the golf ball by warning that unless something is done to stem the distance-tide, 8,000-yard golf courses will become the norm. Jack Nicklaus has warned about this for years, and last week Tiger Woods took a similar message to the masses during an ESPN podcast with Gina Warima, who is a wonderful basketball coach but probably out of his depth when it comes to the intricacies of modern golf course architecture. The only thing I would say is that we need to do something about the golf ball. I just think it's going too far because we're having to build golf courses. If you want to have a championship venue, they've got to be 7,300, 7,400 yards long, and if the game keeps progressing the way it is with technology, I think that the 8,000-yard golf course is not too far away, Woods said. To hear Woods talk, you'd think the prospect of 8,000-yard golf courses is a terrifying one, at least for course designers. To them, it's the Kaiser Soze of modern golf. That's pretty scary, Woods said. We don't have enough property to be designing these types of golf courses. And it just makes it so much more complicated. There is wisdom to Woods' words on this. The statistics don't lie. In 1997, Woods was second on the PGA Tour in driving distance with a 294-yard average, just behind John Daly, the only player to average over 300 yards, 302 off the tee. Last year, Rory McIlroy led the way with a 317-yard average, and a total of 43 players averaged more than 300 yards off the tee. Any way you slice it, whether it be vastly improved equipment, better agronomy, fitness, teaching, whatever, players are hitting it drastically farther than they did just 20 years ago. What doesn't seem as obvious, however, is the idea that 8,000-yard golf courses are the answer. Until they prove otherwise, let's assume golf's rule makers, the USGA and RA, are going to continue to hold the current line when it comes to how far the golf ball travels. Without a fundamental shift to the rules of golf, statistics suggest it's not longer courses that are the answer so much as it is better designed golf courses. Consider June's U.S. Open as Exhibit A. The behemoth Erin Hills was designed to host a major championship. A sprawling layout that played 7,741 yards, and yet Brooks Koepka finished at 16 under and Justin Thomas set a U.S. Open scoring record with his 9 under 63 on Saturday. To be fair, the winds that normally whistle across that corner of Wisconsin in the summer were non-existent, and Koepka did win by 4 strokes, but the point is still valid: longer doesn't always mean harder. Erin Hills, the longest course on tour in 17, ranked as the 6th toughest behind the likes of TPC Potomac at Avenel Farm, which was the 12th shortest course at 7,107 yards, and just ahead of Colonial, the circuit's 7th toughest, that played to 7,209 yards and a par of 70. In fact, if you crunch the numbers, the correlation between more distance and increased difficulty seems mathematically skewed. If you were to take, for example, the statistically toughest and longest holes last year on tour and create a composite course, this layout would stretch 8,794 yards and played to a 74.49 stroke average based on a par of 72, 4 par 3s, 10 par 4s, 4 par 5s. That's just slightly tougher than Quail Hollow 73.46 stroke average, which hosted the PGA Championship in August at 7,600 yards. By comparison, if you took the statistically toughest and shortest composite course last year, the total yardage would be just 5,578 yards, and it played to a 67.54 stroke average. The difference in yardage between these two manufactured examples would be 3,216 yards, and the difference in scoring average would be 6.95 strokes, or about 460 yards per stroke. If, in fact, the desired outcome is more difficult scoring averages, an additional 460 yards per stroke is a zero-sum game and should be considered by all accounts a worst-case scenario. But then not all holes are created equal. Players regularly vote some of the circuit's shortest holes among the best. Frames like the par 3 12th at Augusta National, which at just 155 yards ranked as the 10th toughest par 3 on tour last season. Or the par 4 10th at Riviera, which at 315 yards was the 6th shortest par 4 on tour in 17 but held its own with a 3.87 scoring average. The debate over what should be done to fix the game will continue to rage as long as players regularly launch tee shots well past the 300-yard barrier, but the notion that 8,000-yard courses are the answer seems wildly simplistic and statistically undesirable. It's not longer holes that will make the hard-swinging pro set reconsider the bomb and gouge strategy, it's better designed holes. Article tags Tiger Woods, Riviera, Colonial. It's tough to top the manner in which Keith Mitchell started the old classic at Mayakoba. Beginning on the par 3 10th hole, Mitchell holed a 6-iron from 200 yards for an ace with his very first shot of the week. Per the PGA Tour, it's just the 4th ace to start a round since 2002 and the 2nd to start an opening round, joining Thomas Aiken, who pulled off the feat on the same hole back in 2015. Hole classic at Mayakoba. Articles, photos and videos. Mitchell went on to birdie the next hole and only had 1 par over his first 6 holes on El Camaleon. Thanks to 3 birdies over his final 6 holes, he carded a 5 under 66 to join a share of 3rd place early in the opening round, 1 shot behind Ricky Fowler and 4 shots behind leader Patton Kizzire. Mitchell notably missed out on securing his PGA Tour card on the last hole of the Web.com regular season, but he bounced back to secure status at Web.com Tour Finals. The 25-year-old rookie missed the cut in each of his first 3 starts this season, including last week at the Shriners Hospitals for Children Open. Article tags Keith Mitchell, All Classic at Mayakoba.